Change is hard. Starting something new, whether it's in your money or in your personal life, can be really, really challenging. Today, Vanessa, our head profit coach, joins me as we discuss this journey of change that we see clients go through when implementing a new money system and things you should watch out for and also use to your advantage. My name is Craig, and I'm the CEO of Daisy Financial Coaching. Our goal is simple: to help you run a therapy practice that is permanently profitable. If you own a solo or group practice, we're here to help you build a business that creates more time, makes more money, and serves more people. This is the Therapy Business Podcast. All right, we got Vanessa here to talk about changing and trying new things and how challenging it can be. Vanessa, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Craig?
I'm great. So, Vanessa, this is your first time on the podcast. So, share a little bit about what you do. I know who you are and what you do, but share as if I don't know, what your role is, what you do, what your passion is, and yeah, just tell us a little bit about you.
Awesome. I obviously work here at Daisy Coaching, and I am a profit coach, which means I come alongside business owners and I help them simplify their cash flow, their finances. I help them get paid a living wage, and I help them also just guarantee profitability for their business. We set up systems in a way that helps them to not be chasing that elusive profit and feeling like they're on a hamster wheel that gets them nowhere, but that actually helps them to see where their money's going, to have transparency in what's happening, and to feel like they have the confidence to lead this business into the future in a way that is sustainable and profitable.
Love it. Love it. And that hamster wheel is really sums up well kind of what we're going to be talking about today with that journey of change. And I think that's what drives a lot of business owners to us and practice owners is that hamster wheel feeling like I feel like I'm always living deposit to deposit, payroll comes, I'm stressed out, and then it's just 30 more days of stress until I have to run payroll again, or 14 more days or however long. And it's just this cycle. And maybe they've tried something and they've given up and they've tried again, or whatever it is, it can just feel like you're stuck. I think that hamster wheel is a perfect example of how most practice owners are feeling when it comes to their money, or even just in other areas of life, right?
Oh, 100%. And always feeling like, it's somewhere out there. I have to get there. I have to do more. I have to be more, instead of, James Clear talks about how you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems, right? And so that's, I think, a lot of what we deal with is they don't have the systems in place. And so they have great goals and they have things they're chasing, but it never quite comes to fruition because they get sabotaged by not having the right systems in place to help them get to where they want to go.
100%. Yeah. And we talk all the time, you and I, and then also even I've mentioned it multiple times on this podcast is most therapy practice owners, they're awesome at being therapists. They got their degree. They've been doing this. And then all of a sudden they're thrust into this business owner role. And so maybe they don't have the systems that they need to fall back on. And that could be where that frustration is coming from, is just trying to figure this whole thing out, which, I know that feeling well too. I've just yesterday because we just hired a new employee who lives out of state. And so I had to call her yesterday and be like, look, this is my first time hiring somebody that doesn't live in Texas. And she's being super graceful, but it's this whole process of like, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm learning all these different things that I never would have. Who knew, when I started interviewing that I was going to have to know these things. And so that's true with our money. That's true with everything, just systems, but also giving ourselves the grace to say, it's okay if you don't know how or don't have those yet, but let's figure out how to put them in place. And then today, like I said, we're going to look at that mental almost journey that we go through and maybe being able to catch where we typically fall off the horse and how we can push through and why those systems can help push us through to make sure it's something sustainable. So
Absolutely.
With that said, let's jump into what we call the journey of change. This is something that we see through all of our clients that I have seen in myself personally. I'm sure you have too, Vanessa, because this is really, it's the process we go through when we're trying something different. We're trying to change something about our lives. For me, my immediate connection is a couple of years ago when I started working with a health coach. And then I was like, I'm going to get in I'm going to try and get in shape. I'm going to try and eat better. I'm trying to be healthier. I was approaching 40 and it just started freaking me out. I was like, I've never exercised in my life and I've never taken care of my body in any sort of way. And I've tried many years. I tried to go to the gym for a week or two and then I'd quit or I'd fall off or I'd start eating better. And then I would get frustrated that I wasn't seeing the results on the scale. So I'd quit. Or I'd go to on a weekend vacation and eat like crazy. And then after that, it was like all over for me. And so this journey of change of back and forth yo-yoing is something I've dealt with. I'm sure you have too. Do you have a connection there? Is it for you? Is it health as well? Or do you have another area? When have you seen the journey of change affect you in life?
I actually think that the health journey and the financial journey are so similar, so many
Mm-hmm.
similarities, right? In my coaching, I use analogies interchangeably with people in this spectrum, right? Like I'm constantly reminding my clients, if you want to lift 100 pounds, you have to lift one. If you want to lose, 10 pounds, you got to lose one to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that process, there's so many ways that I think we can bring those two together. And I think for the majority of the people, one or the other is fitting, right? And so as we talk about changing anything, right, that a health journey is something that a lot of people have been on, right? Because everybody wants what they don't have, right? So they either want to gain muscle or they want to lose fat or they want to do whatever. And then the same thing goes with money, right? People generally aren't super satisfied with where they are. And so they want to save more or they want to spend less. And you end up with those two things being so similar. And the analogies are really so interchangeable between both types of change.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. And I think that you're exactly right. They're very personal on both sides. And money can sometimes feel like it shouldn't be a personal thing, especially in our business, but it is. And so it is just as challenging as changing your health lifestyle. And I think that's why you're right. There is a good connection there. So with the journey of change, we see three key phases. And so as we walk through these, we're going to relate it to our clients and what we see as they come to us and how we help guide them through this process. But also our hope is that you can hear this and maybe catch it in yourself, even in other areas or whatever you're trying to do on your own. Because I feel like the more aware we are, the more likely we are to push through and be able to challenge it. And so starting with the journey of change is the good part, which is phase one, which is the high. This is something you're starting something brand new and you are just like all eager to jump in. You're excited about it. What do you see in clients? So when you first take on a client, do you see this high in them, like when they first get started or maybe even on that first call? What do you see from them?
Yeah, they're so full of hope, right? I think that that's what we're all longing for is just hope of something. And so when something's not going well, when you feel a pain point, whatever area of your life it is, if there is a hope, we're all willing to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on that. Or, we get to a point where we say, I believe this is possible to some extent. And so I'm going to give it a shot. And those beginning moments are really just hope, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
hope for a better future than what you're living in right now. And so I think that's where some of that excitement feeling that it's usually paired with some level of nervousness, or right? You're
Right.
like, I'm making this big choice. I'm setting out on this big thing. But that the idea of hope, the appeal of hope is so much bigger that you're like, I can do this. I'm going to figure out how to do this. I'm so ready for something different. And there is hope that it's just on the horizon.
Yeah, completely agree. Hope is it's almost like you can envision it. And sometimes there's even this placebo of you're already there. So it's almost like this mentality of like I've taken this huge step, because I feel like that step of I'm going to push through that anxiousness, that nervousness, and I'm going to make this change. Almost can that in itself is action being taken, and it can even in your brain you're like, all right, like you're almost there already. And so I think it makes the hard stuff exciting. I know for me, whenever I started that health journey a couple of years ago, it was, I'm getting put on this calorie deficit and I'm being required to go to I'm supposed to be going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week. And, I wake up the next day and my legs are so sore. I'm like wobbling around like a baby giraffe in the house. But that to me is exciting. Like I'm going, the painful stuff, the hard stuff is still exciting in that high phase because it's new. It's like, I'm excited to say no to the dessert and to the beer, to the whatever it is I'm supposed to be staying away from because I'm watching what I'm intaking. I'm trying to eat healthier. So during this time, it's just like almost easier to make those sacrifices. And I know we see that with the money too. It's easier to make cuts. It's easier to say no financially to things and kind of get organized during this time. I'm not saying it's easy in general, but we're more willing and we're almost happier about it because it's a change in life and it's something new. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. And I think those little pains, like you're talking about, sort of that soreness, right, is it's reaffirming that there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's reaffirming that there's hope for the future, right? Because you're doing
Yeah.
something about it. So I think it's that period of this hurts a little bit, it stings a little bit, but it also feels good because it's reminding me, right? It's affirming in me that something was lacking and I'm doing something about it. And so that in and of itself is exciting because you feel empowered, right? You're taking ownership of this thing that you recognize there was a deficit in. And in the process of taking ownership of it and doing something about it, you're sort of seeing where it hurts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're being able to feel like instead of doing nothing about it, which is what I was doing before, right? I was just living in this continual cycle of what it was. Like now I'm doing something about it and I can feel it. And even though it doesn't feel good, I'm excited because something is happening. Something's being triggered here.
Completely. Yeah, it's just something's happening. And when we meet with a client for the first time, we give them an assessment and we look at their numbers, which can be very vulnerable. But we dig into their numbers and we're saying, here's what we see. Here's where you stand financially. And typically, if they're coming to us, it's not a pretty picture. Usually, that's the norm. Sometimes people are better off than they think, but most of the time, it's like, here's where it is, and it's not great right now, but here's kind of how we're going to get you there. But what we see, or I see a lot, is people feel better. It's almost even just us giving them bad news of like, yeah, you're overspending a lot. It's, we got to fix some of these things. It's almost like, okay, they feel relief. Like even though that's hard, it's bad news. It's not a good thing. During that high phase, it's just that idea of like, oh, okay, now I know what's going on. I know that problem to your point, and now it's, we see that pain point. Now we can start fixing it.
There's so much power in transparency. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to put words to the problem, being able to actually see the problem is hopeful in itself, right? Because so many people they're almost like treading water, trying not to drown, but they can't figure out what's wrong, what do I fix, what do I do next, where's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. And so when we can take their problem and we can look at it and we can give it back to them with words, with action steps, like there's so much freedom there because we're back to that place of hope. We're back to this, I'm not just floundering, but we're back to, okay, I need a life raft. Here it's coming, right? They're back to being able to say, I know what my problem is and I know there's a fix to my problem. And that is hopeful, inspiring,
Yeah.
empowering.
Yeah, 100%. I think the therapists listening to this see this in their clients, I'm sure. So they probably are very familiar
Yeah.
with this very beginning part where maybe people are more eager or more engaged. But the downside of this is that high phase doesn't last forever. It's usually short lived. I know I would say for us, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I would say probably 30 days, 4 to 6 weeks or so is how long that high will last. I've always been a believer. Anybody could do anything for 30 days and probably do it with eagerness. And it's after that slowly it stops becoming fun and we get into that next phase, which is what we call the dip. This is when it's no longer new. The going to the gym part stops. You're waking up, you're tired, you don't really want to go. And so you're kind of faced with that difficult choice of, I don't want to, or this is hard. Am I going to continue to do it? Am I going to skip today because I just don't feel like it? Or again, you're at the party and the dessert comes out and it's like, am I going to continue to stick with it? Or man, I haven't had a good ice cream and cake in so long. I deserve this type thing. So you start to hit that phase of this is no longer new and exciting. And usually this is where people fall off. So what do you typically see in the dip, whether it's with your clients currently, or maybe just what they've described in the past before they even came to you?
I would say the one thing that I think is so important in this phase is to remember that your brain, like its job is to keep you safe, right? And what is safe is what it knows. And so every time we're pushing into a new thing or we're trying to change something, you're fighting that homeostasis part of your brain that it wants to do what it did last week, wants to do what it did
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, right? And so, it's like when you get there, it is like an all out fight to train your brain that like, this is okay, this is good, this is better. And that it gets tedious, right? The work of it gets tedious. It's no longer exciting. And this is the period of time where you just have to embrace what's boring, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
doing a workout routine or whether you're working on your finances or whether you're doing something else. Like you've passed that peak of it's exciting and there's hope and I'm getting clarity and I'm understanding what's going on. And I feel like, you know, I don't know, I'm like on the top of the world and I can do anything. And then you hit into this point where it's like, this is boring
Mm-hmm.
because success, like to get to find that long-term success, you have to embrace what's boring. And so you have to show up at the gym every couple times a week, right? You have to eat the chicken when you'd rather have the ice cream, right? Like you have to
Right.
keep doing those things. And it is sort of tedious and it is like it's just kind of the muck. We're in like the muddy part of it where you're just having to do the same things over and over and over again, but you're not quite seeing the results you want to see yet. And so it's this period of time where kind of the rubber meets the road. Like, are you really going to do this? And this is the part of time where I think it's so important to have a coach, a guide, somebody that comes alongside you, because I am constantly having to remind my clients, look where you were last month. They're not even
Mm-hmm.
looking at that. They're just looking at the mud they're stuck in right now. And so, kind of going back to that, like, if you want to lose 100 pounds, you have to lose one, right? You also have to you have to embrace the suck
Mm-hmm.
here in this middle part, right? Oh, and having a
Yes.
coach, right? Like if you have a coach or you have a guide or you have someone that's walking with you in it, right? That they can go back and remind you of how far you've come. They can remind you of how it's working because everyone wants to be at their goal yesterday. And it doesn't work that way. You've got to trudge through the mud here in this middle section to get to that point of this feels seamless. This is my new normal. This is where I'm headed and not get stuck here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having somebody to lean on, if I didn't have my health coach, that's exactly why I gave up every time before. Cause, it took me 30 something years to even start exercising. Well, for it to become part of my lifestyle. And every other time I would try it, like I was saying, I would go for maybe a week or two. And then it would stop being new. It would stop being exciting. Or maybe I wasn't seeing the results as fast as I was hoping. And so I would stop. And when I had a health coach to keep me accountable, it was, one, if I'm doing these check-ins, and so he knows when if I'm going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. And so if I don't, he's going to ask me about it. He's going to say, hey, I noticed you didn't log a workout this day or whatever. So I know that that's always there looming. We're going to be meeting. I'm going to see him weekly or monthly, and he's going to ask about how these things are going, or he's going to see that I'm tracking my calories and that maybe I've been consistently going over. It's okay to go over once in a while, but so just having that somebody to hold me to. And then for me also, when I'm going, man, hey, I feel like I'm not losing as much as, or I'm not, hitting these muscle growths or my waist or whatever it is. What do you see? And he can kind of look at it and go, actually, you know what? Let's tweak this here or there, or hey, this is all part of the process. Like it's slow. Like it's a crock pot, not a microwave. So just go with it.
Yeah.
So having somebody to lean on, I know that's our clients too during this dip phase. It's reaching out, texting us, calling us, saying, almost like reassuring me, hey, is everything, I feel like things are going off, or I need help, or I need a call, and just kind of helping push through. This is the hamster wheel we were talking about.
Yeah. And I would also say one thing, as you're going in on your own or whatever, right? People that do this on their own, when you get to this part and you give up, there is a huge sense of like, I'm failing, I can't do this, right? It's so disempowering. And the more often you do that, the more you are like basically reaffirming in yourself that I'm not capable of this when you're totally capable of it. You
Yeah.
just have to get through it, right? And so the more times that you start and stop, the more you're, I think, even subconsciously creating a pattern, a belief in yourself, because you can only lie to yourself for so much, right? But you're like, where I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And it's not that you can't do it, it's that you get stuck in that mud and you don't have anyone to remind you that you can do it. You don't have anyone to help walk you out of that. And so when you say, I'm just going to do it on my own, like, that's great. But a lot of times it doesn't work because we're always more accountable to other people. We're pack animals by nature, right? So we're always more accountable to somebody else. And so, this, if you want to be successful in this part of this journey, you've got to have an accountability partner, a coach, a trainer, a something to just help you remember that you're capable of doing it and to help push you through this part, because it is so hard to get through that part on our own. And it's not because you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not disciplined enough, right? It's none of those things. It's that you don't have that system, right? We go back to systems. You don't have a system in place. You don't have someone to tell you, like, here, let's just change this one thing instead of giving up. Hey, let's just, let's just ease off the gas pedal for a minute instead of giving up, right? It's, for us, we get to that point and you're in the mud and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're like, forget it. Like, it's not even worth it anymore. And so then you go back to square one, but you go back to square one with this experience and this belief that you're not capable or that you're not disciplined enough or that you don't have XYZ, when the reality is you just need someone to help you get through that.
Yeah, completely. Yep. And whether that is coach or just a close friend or another practice owner that, maybe that is further along than you, that can just be there who knows your goals well and who will kind of help you push through that. And so that dip is the dangerous part. Like we were saying, that's the hamster wheel. That's usually where you fall off. And then you have to, the downside and the problem with the dip is when you do fall off, you have to start back over, which means you're going to go back through that high. You're going to go back through all this process. It's almost like you're starting from square one, trying to reintroduce change. But if you can push through that dip, and that's what gets you to this phase 3, and this is what we believe in. This is what our mission is with our clients, is to get them to this final stage, which is the stretch. And this is, it's part of your lifestyle. You can run with it on your own if you choose to. You have the systems. It's just part of who you are. It's second nature. You can lean back onto those systems. So again, my personal health story, going to the gym is now just part of my routine. It's part of where, if I don't go on certain days, I miss it. Like, I'm like, I need to get in. I want to go. If I eat bad, either it's intentional. It's like, okay, this is a night where I'm going to maybe go off my diet a little bit, or it's like, nope, you know what? It's not worth it to me I'd rather put this in my body right now. I don't want to feel like garbage. I went to a movie last week and ate popcorn, like too much buttered popcorn late at night. And I felt awful the next day. And I was trying to tell my kids, it's like, see, it's not that popcorn's bad. It's just, for me, it makes me just feel like I hung over almost the next day. So the stretch is but that didn't derail me. It's like, oh, that was not great, but today I'm going to get back on track because it's part of my system and part of my process.
And you've built that confidence in yourself, right? A lot of what we're doing with clients is walking them through all of this. We're not doing it for them, right? Your coach, your trainer is not doing it for you. But that process of walking alongside you is you building confidence in yourself. And so as you get to where, sort of those training wheels of having that coach or having that person beside you, they start to come off, you can keep going because you're in the rhythm, right? You're already doing it, and you feel totally prepared and confident to do it on your own, right? When we start out on something, when you start out on a health journey or you start out on a financial change, like, a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And you get new kind of bombs thrown at you and you're like, I've never seen this before. I don't know what to do, right? I'm at this event. Do I choose this? Do I choose that? Is it okay? Is it not okay? I'm at the gym. Which exercise do I do? Right? I have money in this account, but I'm short in this other account. Is it okay to move it? Right? And you don't know. And once you walk through those and you have somebody that's there that can tell you, like, it's all right, like, this is normal, right? In this situation, think about these things, ask yourself these questions. And the more experience you have with those things, the less they're new, right? The less that they're something that you've never experienced before. And so once you are kind of past that and this has become your routine, you've now also encountered kind of through the seasons of life a lot of these curveballs that get thrown at you, and you have just more confidence, you have more knowledge, you have more understanding in how to respond to them. And so this part ends up being empowering and freeing because you've gone through that hard part where you're seeing new things, you're having to try new things, new areas are sore, right? Like it's not going, you don't know how fast it should go. So you wonder, am I failing? Am I falling behind? Am I not doing enough? Am I doing too much? And just the more time you have, the more experience you have with whatever that change is you're trying to make, the less surprises that you find. And so the easier it is to do it on your own because you just have confidence and now you have experience.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, it's part of you. And I also look at it as this is where you can run with it on your own for sure. And I still 2 years later, I still have my health coach. And that's largely not because I need the accountability as much anymore. Sure, there's times where I do, depending on the season. We kind of go through months of maybe bulking and then months of calorie deficit. So yeah, I might need it here and there to help me, but largely it's just because my goals are always changing. Where I am is always changing. Just because it's lifestyle, I'm not done yet trying to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And as I reach new ages and new tiers, there's going to be new challenges. And so, we have a lot of clients who come to us and then they get this and they run on their own. They're on the stretch and they leave and they fly. And then we have some who stick around and they want us in their corner because they know their business is going to hit a new revenue target. They're going to need to hire employees. They're going to need to do X, Y, and Z. And that's okay too. And so it's your needs and your things change, but the core, the most important thing is that stretch, that the system is there. You can handle it. And now it's really just that I need some help as I tackle the things. I don't even know what's ahead. I have no idea, but I know that I don't want to be derailed. And then the beauty of the stretch too is you're not starting from scratch. So you fall off, you're not going back through, as we were talking about, if you fall off during the dip, you're going back through that high phase again. This one is just like, oops, if I'm budgeting and I blow my budget this month or I don't track my spending, then come the first of the next month, it's like, great, all right, let's jump back in. Like I already know how to budget. It's all part of my life already. I'm not having to figure this out or sit down and try and figure out how much do we spend on groceries? How much it's like, no, that's all done. Now we just got to get back into staying on top of it.
Yeah. And when it comes to the business owners, one thing I always tell my clients is it's new level, new devil, right? So as we're
Yep.
working together and your business is growing, you're going to find new things that pop up. You're going to find new desires in how to grow your business or how to operate your business or new products to add or services to add. And so having somebody to still talk you through all that, right? Having somebody that's just in your corner, right? Having somebody that is there that can cheer with you when things are going well, or that can help brainstorm with you when things aren't going well. And, life, business, it's all seasonal. It's all you're in a season of growth, or you're in a season of rebuilding, or you're in a season of hiring. And so with each season comes new things. And so if you have a strong financial foundation, which is what we teach people to do, right, then you can make better choices. You can you can move forward with more confidence, right? You can be more efficient, all these different things as you reach these new levels. And so kind of keeping that in mind that yes, even if you can do it on your own, for a lot of times, a lot of situations, a lot of seasons, it's just not as efficient, right? A guide will always get you there faster because they can see things that you can't see because you're emotionally invested. This is your business. It's your baby, right? And which is great, but somebody else with outside eyes, outside perspective, who's a step removed from the situation can kind of help you talk through things and work through things at those new levels that can help you be more successful more quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably the action step for today's episode is to find someone to guide you through. If you've been stuck in the hamster wheel, go find an accountability person, find another practice owner, or we are here. That's what we do. And so always in our show notes is a link, and you've gotten to know Vanessa here, and she's our head profit coach. And so if you need help with that, you can always schedule time with us and with Vanessa to get that help. You can hear that she knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing. But really the key here is action. Take action, find someone to help push you through that dip if you're finding that you can't get through it on your own. But Vanessa, thank you so much for helping co-host today. You'll be on more episodes for sure, because it's just fun talking shop with you and everything like that.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on the Therapy Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a practice owner that you may know. If your practice needs help getting organized with its finances or just growing your practice, head to therapybusinesspod.com to learn how we can help.